Still talking about chronographs, one of my wow moments over the last few months is this square chronograph signed Gubelin. This is a chronograph that, if you had asked me a year ago, Aurel, does this type of watch exist? I would have said no. Why would I have said that? Well, square chronographs were very typical for the 1930s and 40s. We know examples signed by Rolex, we know examples signed by Universal, amongst others. And they were usually quite small. And by quite small, I mean the width would be below 30 millimeters. This example here has an impressive width and height of 34 millimeters. That is potentially the largest square chronographs I have ever come across in my career. Another amazing feature is the fact that the case is in white gold. If we look back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you will struggle to find any vintage chronograph of any shape in white gold. I think we can count them on one hand. So rare is white gold as a material used for chronographs back then, in the mid-20th century. It has an incredibly clean and attractive two-tone dial. You see this lovely circle that shines in a different off-white silver tone. And I could not stop thinking, why is this watch so big in appearance and so big on the wrist? After all, it's only, I would say only, quote unquote, 34 millimeters in width. So I started doing math with my colleagues, and what we figured out is that if you take a square that is 34 millimeters in height and width, it matches the same surface overall like a round watch with over 38 millimeters in diameter. And 38 millimeters, as we both know, is a proper watch. At the same time, we figured out that a square with 34 millimeters is 25, more than a quarter more in surface than a round watch in 34 millimeters. And 34 millimeters is a typical size for a classic round vintage wristwatch. So the visual impact can be scientifically explained. It also has a really nice, solid feel. It's quite a heavy watch given its vintage age. And the condition is absolutely remarkable. It has crisp hallmarks that we can see on the sides. The dial has never been restored. And this shows once again that not only scholarship is not yet complete, there's still discoveries to be made every day in our field. It also shows that Gubelin, a distinguished name here in Switzerland for watches and jewelry, has had a very demanding clientele back after World War II, who probably ordered this piece. I cannot imagine that Gubelin just produced this watch and put it in the window hoping that eventually somebody will purchase it. So what we hold here is a very exclusive, exceptionally rare collector's wristwatch that demonstrates that it doesn't always have to be in the millions if one wants to secure a truly exceptional unicorn type vintage collector's watch.
So you heard the man. There are ways for all of us to get a grip of original and historical timepieces at a more or less affordable price. So this is it for part 1, and in part 2 we will step up a bit on this statement as we will go over some of the top lots of the auction. So see you real soon.